which is better, an open bake or a Dutch oven bake? I've baked 2 loaves using the exact same recipe, using the exact same proofing time as a double batch, split them in half, let them cold proof on their own, and then I've done one open bake and I've done one as a Dutch oven bake. Let's take a look at the 2 of them and see how they differ from each other and see if one is better than the other. I know that it does open up quite the debate, and lots of people say that they only open bake and lots of people say that they only use Dutch ovens. I do tend to use a Dutch oven more than I do an open bake, and let's have a little look and see what the differences are. So this is the first one, and this is the open bake. Now, as you can see, they are pretty similar with their rise. The big difference at the moment you'll see is the colour, and I think because this one has been exposed to the heat a little bit more within the oven, whereas this one was inside a Dutch oven, so it hasn't had that browning on it, I suppose. They both look very, very similar from the top. The only difference again that I would see, which isn't a huge difference, and it is how I've cut it, I've cut them both the same. If I had done it with an ear on it, we may well have seen something different, but on this one we are seeing a little bit more of a split there, and I do like to see that. I do like those little crunchy bits there, whereas on the open bake we're not seeing any of that at all. Now I do notice that the open bake almost looks slightly glossier on the top, whereas the Dutch oven bake looks a little bit more rustic. But that's only down to my interpretation. I don't know if you can see that through the camera at all, but this one almost has like a glossier feel to it, whereas that one has that definite sort of like, it's hard to explain it really, but this one on this side definitely has a more sort of crusty look to it, whereas this one has a more sort of like sheen on the top. So let's cut them open and see what they look like inside. I have done both of these with a slightly higher hydration this time, just to have a little look, just to see how they both perform in the oven. So this one does cut very nicely, very soft loaf. It's got a beautiful, beautiful distribution of bubbles and a lovely bounce on that as well. That looks good. That does look very good. Let's have a look at the other one. Again, lovely to cut and a great distribution of bubbles. Now, if I was being ultra fussy, the way I squeezed it, I do prefer the one from the Dutch oven. I don't know why the crust just feels crispier. It feels more sort of artisan bread-like, whereas this one, I don't know, it's hard to explain it. I don't know if anybody else has got the right words for that. It's that it's almost like this glossiness on the top here. It's almost like the whole thing is together. It's like it's almost like a seal on top of the bread. And I know that sounds a bit of a weird thing to say, but it's like it all moves as one. Whereas this one, the way it moves, it's hard to explain it without seeing it, but can you see how that sort of like all breaks up and it's all sort of like, it's much crispier and much more crumbly as a crust, whereas this one kind of moves as one. It almost creates, dare I say it, more like a plasticky feel on the top. I know that sounds a bit weird to say that, but it's the crust. I'm definitely preferring the look and the feel of the Dutch oven one. But let's do a little taste test and see if they taste any different. I can't imagine that they would, but if we're going to experiment, we have to experiment with all of the things. Now again, just looking at the crust, this one has a couple of little blisters on it, whereas this one has a lot more blisters on it. Again, that's all about sort of like perfecting your loaf and just kind of really thinking about what you want it to look like, what you want it to taste like, and how you want it to feel, sort of how soft it is. So let's give it a try. That crust is super thick. It's very tasty. That crust is much thinner. It's a Dutch oven one. Just switching from one to the other, that one's it's just different. The taste is the same. It's the texture. Maybe I cooked that for a little bit too long. Maybe I shouldn't have cooked it as long. I cooked them for both exactly the same time. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe we'll have to come back with a little retry of me cooking this for a little bit less. But you can see from the bake next to each other, this one here is the open bake, whereas this one here is the Dutch oven bake. You can see that the crust is so much thicker on that side. Now this is a high hydration. I use 350 grams of water in this one, which does give a high hydration, and you do get a slightly wider crumb on that one as well, and you can get a slightly softer loaf as well. It's absolutely delicious. If I had to choose between the two, it would definitely be the Dutch oven bake, would be my preference. But I totally understand why people do go down the open bake route. They either don't have a Dutch oven, they can't lift a Dutch oven, their oven doesn't fit a Dutch oven, they're trying to make multiple loaves in one go. So then it's about trying to perfect that open bake, which I haven't done as yet. So as it stands, I will still be continuing with the Dutch oven, but I'd love to hear other people's experiences and whether they have genuinely compared the two, because it's all very well hearing from somebody that says, I open bake and it's the best. And that's all very well hearing from somebody that says, I Dutch oven bake and it's the best. But who has actually done both, and which do you prefer, and what changes did you make switching from one to the other? That's what I want to hear about, not whether or not you choose one just because that's what you've always done. Because I love experimenting and not doing this, I'm going to do it this way because this is what we've always done. I love exploring different options. As it stands, I still prefer the Dutch oven bake. But actually I'm going to look at the open bake and see if there's anything else that I can do to perfect that. I did put steam in the oven, I did heat up the tray that it went onto, so I think I've done all of the things right with it. It's just, for me, if I had a choice between the two, it would definitely be this side.